Bapak Ibu hadirin para peserta yang kami hormati, diucapkan selamat pagi dan selamat datang. Kami informasikan kepada Bapak Ibu yang masih berada di luar ruangan, bagi Anda yang sudah selesai registrasi, dimohon untuk memasuki tempat acara. Kita akan mulai acara kita sesaat lagi. Terima kasih atas perhatian dan kerjasama Bapak Ibu sekalian. Ladies and gentlemen, please be informed that our conference will be started soon, so please be seated. Thank you so very much for your attention and for your cooperation. Bapak Ibu, kita akan memulai segera acara kita. Kami persilahkan untuk memasuki tempat acara, duduk di kursi yang sudah kami siapkan. Terima kasih atas perhatiannya.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan, and welcome back here at Graduate School of Universitas Gadjah Mada. We welcome all of you to the 13th International Graduate Students and Scholars Conference in Indonesia, the IGSSCI. Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you had a refreshing rest and are ready for another day filled with inspiring discussion and academic exchange. Yesterday, we explored various perspectives on resilient systems and sustainability, and also governance policies and also ethical framework. And today we will continue our journey of knowledge sharing with new insights still under the same theme, navigating the future, strengthening resilience through global collaboration towards world peace.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are so pleased to have with us distinguished speaker and participants from Indonesia and abroad today who will share their talks and experience through today's session.
And this morning, we begin with panel 3, Social Resilience, Peace and Collaboration, where our speakers will share their perspectives on how social resilience, peace building, and collaborative action contribute to sustainable and inclusive societies. To lead this session, allow me to introduce our moderator this morning here. In front of us, he is a lecturer at the doctoral program of the Interreligious Studies, UGM Graduate School, where he also earned his PhD here in Interreligious Studies. Our moderator today also has been actively involved in various academic and interfaith initiatives in Indonesia and abroad.
His research interests include interreligious studies, Jewish studies, religion online, and also about youth studies. He is the awardee of many awards and a scholarship, including the United Board, Fulbright, Endeavour, and so on.
And he also has contributed to several scholarly publications and serves as an active member of academic and interreligious networks across Southeast Asia. With his academic expertise and extensive engagement in intercultural studies, he will guide today's discussion on social resilience, peace, and collaboration. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our moderator, Mr. Leonard Chrysostomos Epaphras, PhD. And we will have 4 speakers this panel session. So we would like to invite first Professor Franz Wiesen.
And the second speaker, we invite Professor Mike Featherstone.
Third speaker, Professor Mohtar Masud.
And the fourth speaker, we invite Dr. Sunjung Kwan.
And next, we hand over this session full to our moderator, Dr. Leo, please.
Thank you, Mbak Saka, Mbak Mutia. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera. Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan, Rahayu, selamat pagi. Selamat pagi. Annyeonghaseyo. Okay. Yeah, it seems even though they are our students, even though they look like scholarly academics, deep down they are wibu, nakama, shinobi, bling, yeah, karat, army, begitu ya. Okay, so thank you very much for having you here, and we are going to continue our discussion, our insights that already started yesterday. This morning, we will have the panel 3 of social resilience, peace, and collaborations, issues that's already started, especially the last meeting, the second panel, but we will continue discussing furthermore. And we have here 4 distinguished speakers that will help us to illuminate and starting our day with very, very much intriguing issues. We will have 4 panelists. The first one is Professor Franz Wiesen. Good morning. Professor Franz Wiesen is Professor Emeritus at Radboud University Nijmegen, the Netherlands, and adjunct professor at Universitas Gadjah Mada, Indonesia. His current research interest is religious environmentalism and human-nature interactions. Welcome, Pak Franz. The second panelist is Professor Mike Featherstone. Mike Featherson is Professor of Sociology at Goldsmiths, University of London. He is founding editor of the Journey Theory, Culture and Society and the Theory, Culture and Society book series. He is editor-in-chief of the journal Body and Society, author of Consumer Culture and Postmodernism, Undoing Culture, Globalization, Postmodernism and Identity, co-author of several other books and numerous journal articles and book chapters on social and cultural theory. Welcome, Pak Mike. The third panelist is Professor Dr. M. Mokhtar Masoud. He's a professor of international relations at Universitas Gadjah Mada. He's received his PhD in political science from Ohio State University, and he has published numerous books and articles, including The New Orders, Economic and Political Structure, Bureaucracy, Politicals and Development, and International Political Economy and Development, and many others. His specialty is international political economy, political economy of development, gender and politics, and as well as area studies, especially issues concerning the global south. Welcome, Pak Mokhtar. And last but not the least, Dr. Kwon Soon-jong, Assistant Professor in Conflict Analysis and Resolution, George Mason University in Korea. She earned PhD in Education from University of Birmingham, UK, and her thesis was Violence in South Korean Schools and its Relevance to Peace Education. She has teaching experience as lecturers in a number of Korean universities, and she also published several articles on peace education. So hopefully each of you you're going to have 15 to 20 minutes of presentation. Try to limit it on that scheme, and after all presentation, we will open Q&A session. Okay, without further ado, please, Professor Wyson. Yeah, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I hope that you had a good night, that you slept well, and that you are fresh for this day and discussions today. I hope that I can give a contribution to the discussion, as was said by Dr. Leonard already. I will talk about ecological citizenship and civilization, global perspectives for a resilient future. And I thank the committee for inviting me. The terms of reference that the speakers got define resilience as the ability to adapt to challenges that disrupt peace and sustainability. And I think living in Indonesia, one of the main challenges in Indonesia today is environmental degradation and climate change. On the picture you see, familiar for most of you probably, land subsidence in Demak, where you see a combination of local factors and global factors. So a global phenomenon, and I will argue that global phenomena really need a global solution. Globalization, originally a term from Japan, referring to the adaptation of agricultural techniques to local situations, but increasingly sociologists look at it from a more dialectical perspective. Next slide, please. I'm not going to talk about all ecological challenges in Indonesia. You live in this country, so you experience it every day. Just look at the streets in Jogja. So I'm not going to talk about all the challenges, and definitely I'm not going to solve them. I just give some ideas that maybe are in the direction of a solution. Well, in my view, the main challenge in Indonesia is the pollution of water. 70% of your population has no access to safe water, antibiotics, metals, medicine, and so on and so on and so on. And you drink it every day. And it is a slow killer. Air. Indonesia is the second or the third polluter in terms of greenhouse gases. Depends a little bit what you measure and how you measure, but it is one of the main contributors to greenhouse gas emission. coal fires plants, open burning. I mean, I live in Jalan Kaliurang. My neighbor burns waste every night because the people simply don't know where to put the waste. Well, you know all those issues. Pollution of soil, agriculture, fertilizers, pesticides, nickel mining, name it. I will not go into details. What I want to argue here is that those problems are local and global. I give you 3 examples. Maybe go to the next slide. Deforestation due to palm oil plantations increasing, although the government aims to reduce it, but it increased over the past years, 18%. Of course, there is no need for palm oil plantation if there is no market in Europe. So if buyers in Europe stop to buy your products, there will be no need for deforestation. So a local issue and a global issue go together. Plastic, here again, we see the coast of Bali. This plastic, Indonesia dumps tons of plastic every hour into the ocean. That may end up in the harbor of Rotterdam or maybe in the UK, we don't know. Anyway, it is in your fish, everything that you export to the European market. So whatever happens here has effects in Europe, but also the other way around. Until now, European countries, my own country, export plastic to Indonesia. Do you understand? Where it is burned, 70% of the plastic is burned in Indonesia. That means causing climate change, air pollution. Can we understand? Plastic in Bali, but we export and you import plastic waste from Europe until now. Forest fires, we know the issue, pollution of air. It is a local issue, I will come back to it later, but of course, here again, it contributes to climate change. I spoke already about Demak. We know the problem in the sinking cities. Now, there is a multiplicity of factors: soil, geological conditions, industry, agriculture, but also global warming, the rise of the sea level. So, in this concrete example, you see that there is a multiplicity of factors involved in these problems, which is really a threat for many people. And I will argue later on that, a global issue needs a global solution. Next slide, please. Since 2017, since the recognition of the indigenous belief as a category on your identity card, I see quite some enthusiasm among scholars about indigenous religions and local wisdoms. And you see many publications, conferences about local wisdom. Now, undoubtedly, local wisdom has solutions to many issues. For example, organic farming. We know that in local wisdom there is quite some expertise in local or in organic farming. Now, we can learn from that. Traditional medicine, herbal medicine, here again, we can learn from that. Customary lawmaking, peace building, locally, we can learn from that. So, indigenous knowledge, local wisdom has many strengths. However, it cannot address all problems. It has many weaknesses. I mention some of them. First of all, local wisdom is, of course, threatened. Yesterday, in the keynote speech, the speaker said that we have a rapid urbanization. 70% of our population will live in towns. Indonesia is the fastest, the country where the urbanization goes fastest in Southeast Asia. That is one issue that I see here. It is often assumed that indigenous people are nature-friendly. That is true in some cases, but not always. Forest burning has always been there. It is not it is the scale in which it happens, but it happens in local communities. Overgrazing of cattle, that is a problem in local communities, whether we like it or not. Yeah, my main argument, local wisdom, as the name it says already, is local. It is based in ancestral traditions. It is based on a bond between people, community, land, and the ancestors. It solves local problems. But how can local wisdom or local lawmaking serve or give a contribution to global issues? I don't see that is possible. When we look at Africa, that's my background, not seldom do we see that there is quite some ethnocentrism. This is our community, this is our land, and the others are the foreigners, and that is a cause of many conflicts in Africa. I can give also examples for Asia. So indigenous belief, local wisdom has strengths, and we must learn from that in a process of globalization, but don't overestimate the possibility of local wisdom to address local issues. We have to revive local wisdom. That is what policymakers often say. Next slide, please. But do not forget that local wisdom very often is not revived, but is invented in the process of modernization. Now, a good example is the Murti Chode ritual, where, in fact, a ritual was invented, not going back to the tradition. Maybe there is an idea about the tradition. But here you see that the tradition, in the process of modernization, a local tradition, is invented. It serves an ecological need, namely the pollution of Kali Chode. In the context of modernization, it is a tourist attraction. There's money making there. So you see that you cannot simply say that we have to go back to local wisdom or to local traditions. Very often the opposite happens. A local tradition is invented, not revived, in the context of modernization. And you can also not say that let's say, globalization or modernization is a threat to local wisdom. Very often it is the opposite. Local wisdom emerges in the context of modernization, and I think the Murti Chode ritual is a very good example of that. Well, the idea of globalization is originally a Japanese idea coming from agricultural farming, where global farming techniques are applied to local context, so it is a one-way direction. But sociologists nowadays see it more as a dialectical relation between global and local process, where they strengthen each other or contradict each other. And I think for environment education and education about environmental issues, that is a very interesting idea. Next slide, please. So my main point is we need to develop a global ethics, a global consciousness. For example, I was involved in a project in Chitaram River. Now, you know, Chitaram River is one of the most polluted rivers in the world. By the way, 3 of your rivers belong to the 10 most polluted rivers in the world. 3 out of 10. Now, if one village cleans up the river and the next village doesn't do that, makes no sense. If my neighbor stops burning plastic, but my other neighbor doesn't do that, that does not make sense. That means we can only solve the problem together. The conference is about local collaboration. And yeah, that also means that we not only have good intentions or we not only have a good ethics, but we also need a transformation of political systems, of economic systems, and for me, most important, of legal systems, a legal transformation. One of the issues that I'm thinking about is the decentralization. We know in Indonesia we are very happy with the decentralization since the Suharto regime. We are happy with that. On the other hand, it does not work well for environment. As we know, there are many regulations nationally, but regionally they are not implemented, or the regions do the opposite. We see mining regulations, stop mining, national policy, and then the regional government does the opposite. So, yeah, we need education, we need a global awareness. Sukarno, your first president, once said, "Give me 10 youth and I undoubtedly shake the world." So, global awareness, local awareness, global responsibility. Now, what could that mean? I give 2 examples, maybe surprisingly, but they come from complete different bodies. The Catholic Church, Pope Francis, Laudato Si, and the Chinese Communist Party called for the interconnectedness of beings of the world. You know, the Catholic Church or Pope Francis in his encyclical letter Laudato Si urges for an ecological citizenship. We are people who live in the earth, the oikos, a common home, and we need that sense of global responsibility, global belonging. And so everything that I do or everything that I do not do has consequences for my neighbor, for the earth, but moreover for future generations. That is something that we can educate our next generation, our children. Surprisingly, I mean, 2 institutions that compete in almost everything, you would say. The Communist Party, whatever you think about it in China, has this idea of the global civilization, in which it says that we have to go beyond the concepts of protection, conservation, and preservation of the earth. Because if we talk about preservation or protection of the earth, we place ourselves, as human beings, above nature, as if we have the ability and the right to protect and to intervene in nature. And so we have to think in a different way. And the Chinese party, once again, the Communist Party, whatever you think about it, it has a long-term planning. You know, in Indonesia, we always think about until the next election. Now, that doesn't work. We talk about long-term developments. That means we also must have a long-term planning. The planning of the Chinese government, in this case, goes to 2060, carbon neutral. That is the policy. And I think these are good ideas to talk about with children in schools to develop that kind of global responsibility. Now, one of the issues, I'm going to finish, Leonard, is, of course, when we talk about global civilization or human civilization, one of the issues that I'm struggling with is this whole concept of more than human or other than human. And that means we talk about, we recognize that humans are not the center of the world, or the non-human or the natural world is also human, that it has agency. Moreover, we give it rights. We don't have human rights, but we have also animal rights, and we have rights of rivers and mountains. Well, that is a good development. However, we still take the human as the standard, but we don't know what a human is. That is something, and even if we talk about environmental humanities, what exactly do we mean? So we still have this idea of human versus the non-human, or the human versus nature, or the more than nature, or whatever. So we really need new categories. And of course, every wording has its own strengths and weaknesses, but some scholars speak about beings, or processes, or vitalism, a life force, or whatever, and saying, okay, also rivers and also mountains have life force and need to be recognized and respected. I come to a conclusion. Next slide, please. So when we think about globalization in solving environmental issues, I don't think that the picture that shows the global in one direction and the local in the other direction, the local is the way forward, that is a very helpful picture. I think globalization and localization go together, need to go together in the same direction in solving local problems and as I said in the beginning, I think environmental degradation and climate change is, I think, the main challenge in Indonesia and in the world that threatens peaceful, sustainable societies. I leave it at that, and I look forward to the conclusion, to the discussion.
Thank you very much, Franz. I have noted some keywords here, interconnectedness, and I like to push it to the idea of cosmopolitanism mentioned by Mbak Yulia yesterday as well. I don't know whether it also can do something with that. And local wisdom, it is mainly invented. And the last point is about global and ecological citizenship. Thank you very much. And then we move to Professor Mike Featherstone. Yeah. 20 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Could I have the slides, please? Thank you. Next slide, please. Next one. So we can think about the need for world peace, but we are addressing it at a time of increasing global tension and conflict. We want the world in planetary harmony, interspecies harmony. We want greater world peace. But today we're looking at this question from accumulating problems and challenges. And I want to look a little bit about the framing of those problems and challenges and the need to theorize them and the need to think about how we in the university theorize these questions, with the university regarded as an internal public sphere which relates to the wider public sphere in society and globally. So I'm wanting to look at that interaction and to really argue for the importance of theorizing. And we know from the last speaker the problems of pollution, climate change, overconsumption, but we also know about the problems we're facing from new information or digital technologies. And many people have written about the increasing global risks like Ulrich Beck, and that every new technology brings an integral accident, like Virilio argued, 100,000 deaths by motor cars in the 20th century, for example. And finally, we are aware of the Nobel Prize winners Acemoglu and Johnston, who a couple of years ago wrote about the way in which every new technology leads to greater inequalities. It doesn't lead to benefits for the general people. So we need to understand these processes to frame the question of global peace. Next, please. So we need to really think about, some people will call it epistemology or the theory of knowledge of how we know what we know, the mode of knowledge formation we adopt. And I would argue we cannot avoid engaging in theory. And a lot of people will say, well, we have too many theories about the world. But if that is the case, how do we order or discriminate between different theories? Some people will also say we need a better understanding of our times, a diagnosis of our times, which tells us really what to do, what we should be doing. But today's shift towards digitalization and AI are producing a major change in the way we think and theorize.
Ada sabotase. Because speaking about technology is too sensitive, probably. Okay, sorry, Mike. Probably we need to, but if you have some paper-based, maybe you can continue the discussion. or you depends on the slides? Okay. Yeah.
I was really relying on reading the slides, but I'm now trying to rapidly reconstruct something on my feet. Yeah, I'm a sociological theorist who looks at culture and theory, and we have been looking recently at the digitalization of the academy, what we would call the scholarly apparatus, the way... Good. Okay. So, can we have the next? Okay, well, apologies for my back to you. So this is where I like to go to talk about the importance of theorizing and then look at various theories of society and diagnosis of our time, how we make sense of our current era, and finally look at the means or the framing we use to address this as academics. Next, please. Next, please. So why theory? Why theorize? We need to understand how society works. We need to understand our own unique historical formulation. We need to investigate the techniques, the tools we use, which are often taken for granted and never thought about. These are the scholarly apparatus. Next, please. So, where does theory come from? The Greek word means to contemplate, look at, or speculate. So, three very different things which tend to confound the idea of a world out there we see and observe without a problem. Next, please. And I quite like this quotation by Henry Thoreau. It's not what you look at that matters, it's what you see. Yeah? So you say, well, I'm looking, I can see it. But what do you see? You see filtered through your preconceptions, your prejudices, your prejudgments, as hermeneutics tells us. So theory can make us look at the world, but how do we see it? We often see it by thinking about our own location, where we are in relation to the object. But then we often have to dislocate ourselves, delocate, and move into a different place where we observe our own observation and theorize what we're bringing to the actual object. Next, please. So this involves a process which Norbert Elias talked about of involvement and detachment. It's not possible to look at the world with affective neutrality, a term Talcott Parsons used in the 1950s. But many people will say, well, I'm very involved, I should be more detached if I want to theorize about the world. But Elias emphasizes that involvement can actually open up very interesting pathways to understand the world. But then we need to swing to detachment, move between involvement and detachment. So emotions aren't something we need to put in a box, but they're something which give us our immediate access to the world, and we need to move backwards and forwards through involvement and detachment. Next, please. And if you look at major theorists like Michel Foucault or Norbert Elias, you wonder how they arrived at the types of theories they did, partly by being in the place illustrated by the picture there in the library, by searching. But they often searched without knowing what they were looking at. It's often said they researched on the diagonal. They went across things. They didn't follow a logical pathway. And they were often looking at everyday life, at diaries, at newspaper columns, and eventually coming towards some theorization from this process. So for Foucault, the library was a really important space where you made a lucky find. You found something, wow. Umberto Eco talks about the library being a place of adventure. Yeah? You discover a book next to the book you're looking at, which somehow illuminates something you didn't really articulate properly and opens up a new pathway of your research. Serendipity, people refer to. Next, please. So the search is an important part of research, and I quite like Bruno Latour's comment. Education is not problem solving, but finding what the problem is. So we have to think around the problem, beneath the problem, not just solving problems other people give us. Next, please. So many people will try and theorize how society works and then think about how our times are distinct from previous epochs. And then, of course, they will want to think about the global situation, as we heard from the previous speaker. Is there a world society? How does that work in distinct to nation-state societies? Next, please. So there was a recent book in Germany, translated in 1923 by Reckwitz and Rosa, who talk about the need for a theory of society, understanding the big picture, and that this is something which is not just an academic issue, but many people in the public sphere, in public life, many of our fellow citizens want to know what to do or how to understand financial crises, climate change, digitalization, populism. So they argue we should focus for a theory of society and try and develop a comprehensive theory of modernity. Well, I'm a little bit skeptical whether we need to go back to re-theorize modernity. In the 90s, 80s and 90s, there was lots of people looking at postmodernism and people talking about high modernity, late modernity, reflexive modernity. Bruno Latour had the very good title for a book, We Have Never Been Modern, so never, denial of modernity. So I'm not sure in our present moment we need to rework the question of modernity, but we need to understand the social in relation to the political and economic. Next slide, please. So today, I think if you followed modernity theory, you've got a lot of problems because many things are happening which suggest some of those concepts might be obsolete. Max Weber talked about patrimonialism, and there's a recent book, Hansen and Kopstein, talking about the assault on the state and the personal rule of the strongman, the master. So there are monopolization tendencies, oligarchies, interest groups and elites. People have theorized racket societies, mafia states. And interestingly, some talk about re-feudalization. We're going back to a sort of feudal framework or even a techno-feudalism. Varoufakis talks about this. He talks about cloud serfs and the appropriation of the digital commons which generated in the 1990s and became closed off by large monopolies extracting rent. So there's a shift from capitalism based upon profit to feudal forms based upon rent. Amazon, for example, charges 40% to people to display their goods on their internet system. Apple charges 20% for apps. So it's a form of rental as opposed to a normal form of capitalist profit. So many people are trying to theorize our present moment as a move beyond some of our more familiar sociological categories. Next slide, please. And I think to go back to Norbert Elias, we need to consider society as a nation-state society and see the dynamic of nation-states. In the European example Elias looked at in the civilizing process, there was an elimination contest, a struggle, military struggle between nations, which normally ends with the hegemony of the most powerful country, as happened in the city-states of ancient Greece. We have a very unresolved elimination contest in the world today. We thought maybe 10, 20 years ago we might migrate towards a world state through the United Nations and various international bodies. The Pax Americana in the post-war era tended to endorse this idea. But more recently, people talk about a tripolar world, a world with separate spheres of influence, which is very similar to mercantilism before in the 16th and 17th century, before the rise of capitalism and the notion of market capitalism. So are we to return to an era of mercantilism with intense national competition, even colonization, a new form of colonization, and perhaps warfare? Next, please. So if we are trying to understand our own situation and the difficulty of it being resolved through these nation-state struggles, we have to think about our own situation observing this. Niklas Luhmann, the German theorist, talked a lot about the problem of the observer trying to be inside and outside the society you're trying to observe. And I think from our own perspective in universities, we are the observers. How do we observe the global and the social situation of the world today? Universities are a key knowledge institution. It has an internal public sphere which relates to the wider public sphere out there in social life. But we have embraced digitalization, which it can be argued has produced in the scholarly apparatus. So in the last section, I want to look at the tools, the techniques we use, and their effect upon our observation, on what we see, what we look at. Next, please.
3 more minutes.
Next, please.
Mike. 3 more minutes.
So, if you look at intellectual craftsmanship, and a famous book was C. Wright Mills, Sociological Imagination, there's very little on the actual mode of writing. Next slide, please. Which we can call, after Bernard Stiegler, the inscription system, the way of inscribing. With digitalization, there has been an automation of the inscription system. And he argues that in the 19th century, with industrialization, capitalism, we had a loss of skill and savoir-faire, knowledge of manual workers. The 20th century, loss of knowledge and skill of consumers. And in the 21st century, we're seeing a loss of theoretical knowledge through digitalization. Next slide, please. So the university has wholesale adopted digital systems, and we are all familiar with internet searches and the databases we have to make our way through computers. It's worth realizing there are now 46,700 odd academic journals. They're being produced at a very rapid rate. In the 1960s and 70s, there was a handful. So we have, next slide please, a problem of navigating this sea of data, of an expanding archive, of knowing what is good, what is bad. How do we make our choices? Who are the intermediaries or guides that can take us through this dangerous sea of data. But we're also familiar with this on a practical level in terms of our students. And a recent survey in the UK suggests that something like 88% of students now use ChatGPT for their assessments. So what are we effectively marking or letting students do? And I think a lot of people will turn the other way. They don't really want to know about this question. And I think the institutional apparatus of the university also don't want to know about this question. But we also don't want to know about this question. There was an article in Nature I mentioned there where lots of academics will use for translation. It's understandable you would want to use it for translation if you wanted to go into English from Bahasa. So translation, but also for forming your ideas. So again, that is important. So just final thoughts. This is a famous English university, Oxford, which was anti-ChatGPT. But then they made an agreement for adopting AI recently. And you wonder why the change. Next, please. This is a lecturer who has a particular course written completely by AI. Next, please. So against this, we can argue theorizing needs a different temporality, a different speed. Next, please. Next, please. Next, please. So we get advice on the internet for students how to write papers 10 times faster. Next, please. Relate through AI video platforms. Next, please. AI can be your trusted partner. 100% undetectable by AI detectors. This is what you want. 100% undetectable. Empowerment. Next, please. Then we see a movement towards increasing use of video, of avatars, of simulations of your body, as opposed to text. And this is a move which will be challenging for us in universities. And there's a university in Berlin which has 100,000 students and uses video content and avatars to reach the students. Next, please. Next, please. These are some of the avatars. Next, please. This is the university. Next, next, next. This is an avatar. Next, next. This is a joke about an avatar. Next, please. So we are maybe in transition towards a new type of university, a post-university perhaps, and we need to address this. Next, please. Next. So finally, to end maybe with Einstein, he once stated, whether you can or cannot observe a thing depends on the theory you use. It's the theory which decides what you observe. So my whole impetus has been really to say we need to theorize this new form of technology, of techniques we have learned to use without reflecting on it. We need to reflect and theorize its role for us as academics, but also its role in the social world outside. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pak Mike. That's truly fascinating lecture. That's unfortunately we have to finish. But I found some very intriguing issues about temporality, techno-feudalism, post-university, and one thing you mentioned in the slide, but you not openly spoken it. That's about cui bono. Any technology has to have a question, cui bono, for whom the benefits is for. Okay, next, Professor Mukhtar Masud, another 20 minutes, thank you.
Good morning. Selamat pagi. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm here because this meeting is organized by my junior colleague, Mas Dodi. Actually, I'm not knowledgeable about what I'm going to present here. But I have many friends. And I asked them to brief me only yesterday. And this is the result. This is, well, of course, I put the framework so that they are not responsible for the story that I tell you now. The responsibility is mine because I use my own framework. Yeah. Next, please. Of course, you know already what peace building is, but I would like to to make it into new meaning, because peace building, everybody knows that this is an effort to create condition, relationship, and institution that prevent violence and foster constructive conflict resolution. But I'm not sure that I know what the organizer want me to talk about. Usually people talk about peace building, about relation between nations, between big groups. But today I would like to interpret, next please. Yeah, you can read it by yourself. Next please. Yeah. So peace building can be done at the level of individual, at the level of community, at the level political, in the sense that at the level individual, you know that many effort has been done by many teachers to teach the pupil to get along together with their friends. And that's the, well, I think I got this started very early in my life. I learned a lot from my teachers about how to behave, in the community. But what I would like to talk today is at the level of community. This is done by groups of people who organize their interests together and do something for the community. So this is the level that I'm looking to talk today, and please. At that level, I put this word, I'm not sure whether this is right or not. English is not my language. Normally, I do not speak English. So whenever I do, it sounds like abnormal. Now, so I put the word peace disturber, and I put there capitalism is the disturber of peace relation, and the second is patriarchy. The reason I put this because the sources that I got from this story from those who done this in their own field of activities. Yeah. So what has been done to deal with this peace disturber? And here I put, yes, please. Next, please. Yeah. So the title given to me by the organizer is that about civic collaboration against something that disturb peaceful relation. So I interpreted this as this is a friend of mine. Well, I'm part of it actually. From Surakarta, Kita Pertiwi is the organization established by women, female students long time ago, and they started with the environmental issue. That's why the name is Kita Pertiwi, nyanyian Pertiwi, saya kira namanya, the song of the earth. I put this as a collaboration against capitalism because pesticide abuse is much related to the way the companies producing pesticide do in Indonesia. Please. So the problem here, not only Indonesia though, it's many places around the world. The problem is overuse and misuse of chemical pesticides. And I'm not a chemist, I'm not a science scholar either, so I would like you to read yourself. So the impact, the negative impact on health, on the environment. And the problem here is weak regulation, because there was a time in 1960s when the first high-yield rice production started in Indonesia, and they used a lot of chemicals to have, because before, when I was a kid, my grandfather had to wait for 6 months to reap the harvest. Yeah, but after 1960s, we can have it only for 100 days to, to grow rice in rice field. And the secret is that because you need many artificial things, including pesticide. Yeah. So, please. And I put a friend of mine from Kita Pertiwi as the problem solver. Of course, this group is not alone. Among others, many do this. But this is the organization established by female students and social activists in Surakarta, 60 kilometers to the east from Jogja, and specializing on environmental conservation and community development activities. And the focus for them to do the activities is on the marginalized groups, especially women, children, and other vulnerable groups, please. And this is the part of, Kita Pertiwi is part of the global network of organizations dealing with environmental issue and women issue. And as part of that, I think the most, the first activity related to Pesticide Action Network. And that is where the story comes from. The problem with this is that because farmers are lacking in terms of dealing with pesticide, but the company is very aggressive And I will later, please, mungkin ada gambarnya ya. Okay, this is the problem, the abuse. The red color in the picture that you use. Mine is not better. The use of highly hazardous pesticide. Ini cetakannya kecil kali, jadi anyway, the problem. Oh, okay, yeah. The report kembali yang tadi saja gambarnya. Now this is the problem because according to the report, the misuse and the abuse of pesticide is very come to up to the level of a very dangerous level. And please. The problem with the people is that they don't see pesticide as a threat to their life. In Bahasa, when people go to the market to buy a pesticide to kill the rat, they call it in Bahasa, mau beli obat tikus. Obat tikus. Obat means medicine. See, as if it is medicine for the rat. See, never heard. Well, according to the report, very few people say it as a racun tikus. It's supposed to be racun tikus, but you go to the market and ask for ada obat tikus. Supaya tikusnya gemuk-gemuk, saya tidak tahu. Now, that's I think the issue. And the company is very aggressive. And even if you buy certain amount of racun, you can get motorcycle. See? Hadiah ada itu kebiar sarana tani. See? So this is the problem. We are dealing not only with the technical issue, we are dealing with cultural issue. And that's the job that, please. The way I interpret it, it's the downside of capitalism. Of course, many still believe that capitalism beyond the way we do in our modern society. But then, I would like to say that pesticide spread all over rural area in Indonesia is part of the impact of the capitalists. Please, because we are talking about civic collaboration, I would like to mention about the dimension, how Kita Pertiwi do the job. Of course, you have to put yourself in a big network to make your job done well. And that this is what I put there. Kita Pertiwi's collaborative strategies include joint monitoring and reporting of pesticide misuse, community-based environmental watch group, and that include International Pesticide Action Network and many others. Now let me move to the second story. This is also by a women group called Rifka Anissa, teman perempuan, friends of the women. Here, please, the issue that is dealt with by them is high prevalence of violence against women in Indonesia. And the statistics consistently reveal a high degree of male power abuse. So, please, this is the, well, I just listened to them, and they gave me the statistic, and I just put it here. Don't ask me how I can come to this conclusion, yeah, because it's there. Well, the organization here, very close here, so you can ask them, how do they come up with this data, yeah? So according to them, area of violence against women, most of them are inside your house, circle, yeah? So the area of a private sphere, this is domestic violence, and violence against wife constitutes around 30 to 50% of total cases. Okay, watch out, guys, because men within the house are the culprit here. Sexual violence. From what they told me, 70% of the victims knows their perpetrator. So this is also problem with the with women life, please. The total reported cases here in all form, 25,000 to 28,000 annually, with female victims accounting for the vast majority. 80% of the victims are female. And this is, according to the national survey, 3 in 1 women aged between 15 to 64 have experienced physical and or sexual violence in their lifetime. This is the problem that it has been there for a very long time. Even now, even after you have the law of elimination of domestic violence, I think it's promulgated in 2000 something, I forgot the year. Please. Yep, okay. So again, that is, but in the sense of activities, Rifka Anissa is among the pioneer, the first in Indonesia dealing with this issue. So established in 1993 by women activists, Rifka Anissa predates the law. The law was only in 2004 or something, and they started long before. And Rifka Anissa served as a three function: advocacy, training, and service provider. Okay, so if this is a metaphor,
2 minutes more, Pak. 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Not even 2 minutes. It's already yeah. Direct service, curative action, you know it already. Eh? They have psychologists, they have medical staff there, and they have a shelter. They use a lot of shelter, including mostly pesantren. Because if you put the victim in a pesantren, it's easier to guarantee the safety. You know? But the problem, the first experience with the pesantren is that many Muslim leaders are not really in line with this idea, because women are supposed to be the responsibility of the husband, not somebody else. Okay, please. Prevention of community intervention. Well, this you can read it by yourself. Policy change. Okay, this is more important to me because now you talk about public policy. you have to have a policy by authorities to enact what you would like to see in the violence prevention. And because of this, because of RICA and many groups within Indonesia, then in 2004, we managed to have the law against domestic violence. Okay, and again, like the Kita Pertiwi, RIFKA is not doing this all alone. They have a network, a big network, and I have pictures here, please. This is the way they do. Still in bahasa, ya. I'm supposed to translate it, but it's already 9 in the evening, ya. Tadi malam, macam mana? Susah, ya. Please. This is also still in bahasa, ya. Because you cannot leave men, the male person, to have this done well in the community. So they managed to get the support of good men. Orang baik-baik ini semua laki-laki mengutuk perkosaan, macam begitu, ya. So this is the two stories I got from two groups of women that are very serious in peace building in the sense of everyday peace building, not the formal, not the institutionalized peace building that you see most of the time in the mass media. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, without further ado, please, Dr. Sun, another 20 minutes.
Assalamualaikum. I was jealous about having this greetings back, because when I say 안녕하세요 in my class, no one responds in Korea. So I really would want to enjoy this moment. Thank you for inviting me. My name is Sun Jung Kwon, as introduced, and I'm from South Korea. And today I'm very honored to be here and present my research on how teachers can teach unification and peace in South Korean schools, as we are under the pressure of have to keep the political neutrality. So as a way to be a catalyst for resilience and peace, I would like to raise some questions and the conditions that how we should approach to this matter. So before start my talking today, I would like to check how much you know about South Korea. So K-pop, K-culture. I think that's the most notable thing that represents South Korea currently. But I would like to share what is really behind the scene. So before I start my presentation, I would like to share a very short clip that shows what happened last winter in South Korea. Can you play? It's a K-pop concert.
This is not a scene from a K-pop concert. It's a scene from a rally held in Seoul to call for President Yoon Suk-yeol.
You know those songs, right?
This is not a scene from a K-pop concert. It's a scene from a rally held in Seoul to call for President Yoon Suk-yeol to step down following the sudden declaration of martial law last week. The young protesters in their 20s and 30s joined the protest, holding their light sticks that represent the K-pop groups they support. The light sticks of all colors glow in the huge rally in front of the National Assembly. Some even have the word impeachment written on them. The young people dance and sing along to K-pop hits, such as Rosé's APT, and 17 subunit Busoksun's Fighting. But if you listen to the songs closely, you can notice that the lyrics have been customized to call for President Yoon's impeachment. A light stick, which refers to official fan merchandise used to cheer for idols, first appeared in the candlelight vigil held in 2016 for former President Park Geun-hye's impeachment. It became a must-have item at protests after some lawmakers pointed out that candlelight will go out if there's strong wind. The sticks, usually priced between $30 to $50, have all sold out, that some are even paying extra to buy the used ones. One K-pop fan who was at a protest rally said, "We're very used to waiting outside in the cold. We're also good at shouting and cheering aloud for what we love. I see that in protest, it is no different. Our protest will be fun and cool, just like a concert." Young fans are now using their light sticks to express themselves.
Can you move to the third slide, please? The third slide. Okay, how's it? Is it cool? Fascinating? Okay. So it seems like we reached the democracy, saying like we are on the street, we do the non-violent protest using our K culture to express our, the third one, to express our political opinion and to enforce those in power to make the decision. So it seems like we are settled in a system, but we do have something that challenges our society that left behind the scene, and that's the story that I would like to share with you today. Yes, thank you. So I would like to ask a question: can education serve as a catalyst for resilience and peace? So that's the question we should follow for today. There are two roles of education: one, perpetuating violence; the second, as a catalyst of building peace in society. In many societies, schools especially, as a formal institutions of the state, have the responsibility to socialize children by teaching shared norms, values, and culture, and to develop their skills to live and work as the citizens and the laborers. So no one would doubt this role of schools as educational institution. However, many critical scholars argue that schools actually harm children by perpetuating or reproducing the culture of violence, such as militaristic culture, patriarchal, discriminatory, authoritative bureaucracy, or the standardizing things that influences a lot in many societies. So although education in schools often appear as an instrument that reinforce a culture of violence or overt violence, educators like Dewey or Freire emphasizes the potential of education to nurture the values of love, compassion, and democracy, thereby fostering the culture of peace. In line with those scholars, I would argue that education can serve both as a supporter and also as the foundation for transforming a culture of violence into a culture of peace. This entails education must challenge existing customs, systems, and cultures rooted in violence, and to work to change the status quo into a culture of peace, and that, I think, is the role of peace education. So in this regard, I argue that education can and should serve as the catalyst for peace in society, challenging the politics that shapes the ideology, systems, and the customs of a community. To achieve peace, we must address how politics functions and incorporate discussions about a central role in creating the opportunities to confront the politics. So unfortunately, however, many societies prevent education from being political, particularly in formal settings. So how can we teach peace in these circumstances? To answer this question and initiate this discussion, I would like to introduce the research I'm currently working on, the experiences of teaching peace and unification in South Korean schools while maintaining their duty to be politically neutral in public education. So, can you press one more? Thank you. So as you can see, if I ask the question, is South Korea a peaceful society? Yeah, apparently. But we do have a dark history remained because we've been going through the colonization, the Korean War, and a dictatorship, having the dark history at the back scene of having a well-developed democracy, economic growth, K-culture, with the division hiding behind them. So I say we have these unresolved conflicts because looking at the dark history, our country, South Korean society, within our country, there are another division formed based on how you glorify the dark history or how you criticize the dark history. So if I put it in a very simple way, those who glorify the dark history, we call the right. Those who criticize the dark history, we can categorize them as the left. It's the very simplest version. Some may argue it, so I agree with their argument, but for the sake of this presentation, I would just want to divide into those two groups. So next slide, please. So in this regard, as I said, we have the political disparities and the issue of political neutrality remained. So the conflict between the right and the left is now the key feature in South Korean society. Ironically, even though history has been changed, the two groups depicted above still face conflicts, differing views on history, and the consequent adversary relationship. They hate each other. So this is the root causes of the current political conflict in South Korea, and it leads to the differing opinions even on the martial law enacted on the 3rd of December last year. The trial of martial law does not directly relate to the North and South Korea division, yet considering the ideological conflicts based on North and South conflicts, which is based on the Cold War era mindset, it is a very critical social conflict that stems from the divided situation, even within the South Korean society. As I said, South-South division or the conflict. One more, please. So in such a circumstance, teachers are asked to stay silent, even with the apart protest. They need to be silent and be politically neutral. That said, no sharing of their own views of the society, and do not criticize the government's politics as one of the civil servants in South Korean society. Not a teacher, a civil servant. So in recent South Korean society, political neutrality among teachers has become a very significant, controversial topic. So as the Constitution of South Korea mandates the teachers and other civil servants to remain their neutrality in politics, sometimes teachers are trapped in this narrative and they are trying to protect themselves from parents' complaints rather than fight for dealing the political issues in their classes. So this is quite interesting considering the fact that South Korea transitioned into a democratic society within a short time. And this is a very prominent issue. So despite the introducing democratic citizenship education, human rights education, and peace education as an important education theme in South Korea for 10 years, ironically, the issue of political neutrality in schools remained unaddressed. So therefore, research is crucial in understanding this matter. At the same time, we have the unification education. So we believe that we need to unify it. So unification is also a very critical educational practice in this divided nation. The name and the content of the unification actually change according to the government stance. So whether the government pursues military power for the security of the country or the government fosters a peace process to prevent the war in Peninsula, it depends, and the unification education changes all the time. So in this sense, many scholars say that the political change in unification are compelling. And in these circumstances, teachers who believe in unification education as peace education try to practice it in schools. However, they struggle with the diverse issues that prevent them from teaching about unification and peace. So although some Office of Education officially fosters peace and unification education, it is misrecognized by the society as politically biased education. So consequently, teachers face conflict in their classrooms because of the irony between their duty to be politically neutral and teaching about politically biased education. Right. So in order to explore, next slide please. In order to explore this phenomenon and the experience of teachers, I met those teachers. Yes, thank you. Next slide. And the first findings is it's the analysis of based on my first codings. I need to develop more, but I would like to share a very brief understanding of teachers and how they experience them. So I found there are two views on in unification. So as a South Korean, I was raised to believe that unification is peace in our land. But nowadays, we have a question. Is it a representation of peace in South Korea? Yes. There are groups of teachers who still believe that unification equals to peace. So when they are saying this, they kind of get some ideas from our constitutional reasoning because they kind of state that we need to unify at some point. And therefore, they are following the national curriculum because we have the unification topic on the moral studies or social studies textbook. So that's what they are saying. From their perspective, it is easy to talk about anti-war or peace in class, so that's easy. But to move forward to talk about unification is hard. Very ironic, right? So they say unification is more politic than peace. Next, please. And there are another groups of teachers who think unification does not equals to peace. So when they are talking about this, because unification, because we don't necessarily believe that we need to unify, we still believe that this is too political to touch upon, so we need to expand the discourse of unification into peace education by incorporating multiculturalism, differences, or global citizenship educations, and so forth. So this is how they view the education at this point.
4 minutes left.
4 minutes, okay, thank you. And next slide, please. And next, I found there are some very interesting view on the political neutrality. So they believe that it's not really quite right, but they do believe that they want to be safe. So they are in the middle. So if I wrap up this, the quote that I borrowed from their interview, they say, we know that political neutrality is not about saying nothing or do nothing, but we barely can do something. So it's very hard for them to do something because they are afraid of being trapped into some sort of politically biased teachers complained by parents or from the students as well. But at the same time, they are really wanting to have their political rights as citizens to be guaranteed because they are teachers, they sometimes face the barrier to express their own political view as a just South Korean citizen. So they are in that situation. So they view their political neutrality as something that they agree in some point by having students to critically think. But at the same time, they are also wanting their rights to be guaranteed. So they are in the middle. So next slide, please. So based on these experiences, they are on the stage of asking questions. So they have their ontological concern that who are we? What is our role in doing the peace something or in raising some critical awareness of students? And therefore we ask another question, can we teach unification and peace regardless of our geopolitical neutral? That's the two questions are raised from their interview, and the rest of these things are the interpretation that I was still working on. So I skip this slide and the next slide, and I'll move on to the discussion. Thank you. So let me discuss with taking a lot from Professor Featherstone's presentation, because I kind of love the quotes that he shared with us. First is one of the quotes that education is not problem solving, but see what the problem is. And that's, I think, is exactly how education can play as a catalyst for the resilience and peace. So from my perspective, education should be able to discuss the matters that I just raised to bring about the overcoming the collective trauma that remains behind these very good democracy things in our division, and to navigate the ways to reconcile the wounds actually we share from the generation to generation in our politics. And that's the one thing that I would really like to address. And the second part is, I really want to ask the question, not just in South Korean society, but in overall, do we face and or accept the differences that exist in our society? If we have the political neutrality upon you, it is very difficult, but I think education should do that, and to have some courage to really build upon and how we can deal the division, the disparities, or the conflicts that always occur in our classroom, and we need to really deal these differences and face the differences. And I think this is my hope and also the desire towards peace education to play its role in not just in South Korean society, but maybe in other society as well. So again, following Professor Featherstone's presentation again, and that was really amazing. What you look at that matter is what you see. So if the teachers are trapped and you just don't just do it as you just see the phenomena, it just stops there. But if you do something together, it can become a role and play its role as a catalyst for the resilience and peace, especially in a country where the conflict is deeply embedded in every corner of the society. And that's it for today's presentation. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for all the presentation and all the insights already shared. We truly in the very restricted time. I extend to 5 minutes because it's supposed to be a coffee break, but I want to extend 5 minutes more for 2 questions. A quick one, name, affiliation, and to whom you want to address the questions. Please, 2 questions. 1, 2, okay. Sorry for the rest. You can approach later on. Please. Name, affiliation, short question.
Okay, check. Okay, thank you very much. My name is Ahmad Jauhari. I'm from Media and Cultural Studies study program. My question is for Professor Mike Featherstone about theorizing, creating theory. Since there are many contexts, many conditions of the society, world society, so is it possible to do theorizing the world society in specific context? I mean, for example, theorizing South and South society country, theorizing society in a country or in an area, Southeast Asian, in Asian, or society of society that are in cultural border area. That is my question. Thank you very much.
Next. Yeah.
Ini mohon maaf untuk teman-teman perempuan, laki-laki semua nih yang nanya.
Yeah, terribly sorry.
Yeah. My name is Ferianto Sitohang. I'm postgraduate student from Development Studies Parahyangan University. My question for Bapak Professor Muhtar. Thank you very much for your presentation, especially about male participation. My question, based on your research, how far the male participation give impact to prevent and handling violence against women? I think it's very important, especially in Indonesia. I'm Commissioner Komnas Perempuan period 2020 until 2025. I want Professor Muhtar give insightful for us about the male participation in Indonesia. Thank you.
Thank you. Please, Mike and Pak Muhtar later on.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for your question about theorizing world society. It's in a process of formation, and there could be a world society if we had the hegemony of a particular state and then integrates all other states by monopolizing violence and taxation. This could be a nice, peaceful world society. But the means of getting there are not very promising. Warfare, elimination contests, etc. Another alternative might be through agencies like the United Nations and a movement towards peace through the civil or public sphere, which is a much more positive one. But against this, we face powerful interests, economic and political, who will not necessarily agree with our agendas. So I think it's a quite complicated process, and it was something Niklas Luhmann, a German sociologist, looked at in the 1950s in a sort of dispassionate way of seeing a world society as not an integrated culture, but a sort of culture of differences, positing how we observe this world society as the key question, and our knowledge, how that develops and is refined as we try and understand this diversity, the globalization of diversity, if you like, within a world society. And in some ways, we don't want to lose diversity. And I think that was your second question about borderlands, and we've heard some presentations on this yesterday, and the difficulty of integrating people who do not want to be integrated. But I should say, many people may think the United Kingdom or England is a highly integrated society. It is not. So it is a scalar thing, and I can think of even England, which is more integrated than Scotland and Ireland and Wales. There are lots of differentiations and lots of dialects and whatever. So I would like to look at this really through the question of who is concerned about the problem of integration and difference. And I think we have to think of this in terms of centres and peripheries and establishments and outsiders. Certain establishments may not want to consider the periphery or the outsider point of view. So it is a struggle of forming knowledge and forming communication, and this is the way forward, as opposed to the way states are often formed through military processes. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Muhtar.
Thank you for the questions. And this is what I'm afraid of. I'm not knowledgeable about this, but now I have to ask. I want to answer the question. My own position so far is that the violence done by male person against a female person can be can come from the insecurity and from lack of self-confidence. So if you deal with that, well, I think it comes from my own background. I'm educated in political science, so I'm not psychologist, so I do not know how to answer in terms of psychology. But politically, violence can come from the the insecure individual. So in many occasions that I am involved in, those who are confident, who has a self-confidence, usually can accept the differences in terms of political life. That's also what I saw, and in many reports about the violence, it also revealed, I do not have this the data now, revealed that those who are not secure tend to be more anxious about the changing situation, and it end up with the violent behavior. That's what I can say, because again, I'm not knowledgeable about this violence against women issue. I'm here because Mas Dodi put me here. So sorry about that. Thank you very much for the question.
Okay, thank you very much for all the speakers. Thank you for the questions. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time to explore further with other questions. So after this, we have a coffee break, and we don't forget we have exciting many parallel sessions. And don't forget, we have also special session called Faith for Cities. That's been presided by Dr. Chris Elisara. So enjoy the break, and I give once again applause to all the wonderful speakers. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Leo, as the moderator of the panel 3 for this morning session, and all speakers also. Thank you so very much. And please stand on stage as we will present a souvenir. And to do so, we would like to invite Dr. Dodi Wibowo to present the souvenir as the chair of the committee of the organizing committee of IGSSCI. All right, all speakers, please kindly move forward on the floor.
The first token of appreciation souvenir gifted to Professor Franz Huizin, our first speaker for today.
And next souvenir will be given to Professor Mike Featherstone. Next to Professor Mohtar Masud.
And the next souvenirs to Dr. Sun Jung Kwan.
And also our moderator for this panel session, Mr. Leonard Chrysostomos Epavras. And after that, Dr. Dodi, please have some picture or photo with all speakers and moderator. In 3, 2, 1, smile. Okay, give your love to the camera like this. Okay. 1, 2, 3, capture. Give a warm welcome applause. Thank you so very much. And please back to your seats. Thank you once again for moderator and speakers, and also Dr. Dodi. And ladies and gentlemen, we will take 15 minutes from now, and we will continue the next program at 10:30 a.m. We will have the
We will have the parallel session after this. After the coffee break, all the participants please go to your assigned room, and we also have another session called Faith for Cities at the room 405 at the fourth floor. So participants that are not a presenter for parallel session, we kindly invite you all to join the session of Faith for Cities, Inner Development Goals, and for Cities Cultivating the Inner Capacities for Sustainable Urban Future by Dr. Dwight Friesen, professor from Practical Theology, Sekolah School of Theology and Psychology. And this discussion will be led by Dr. Chris Elisera, Director of Faith for Cities. Once again,
and that is our information to you, that the parallel sessions will be divided into several rooms, and we have 15 minutes to have some break for some refreshments, of course, and please be back to your each room at 10:30 a.m.
yeah,
Baik Bapak Ibu, kami informasikan Anda memiliki waktu kurang lebih 15 menit untuk break, menikmati kopi, teh dan juga snack yang sudah disiapkan di luar ruangan ini. Dan Bapak Ibu dimohon nanti setelah itu, setelah 15 menit break, menuju ke ruang-ruang paralel yang sudah ditentukan. Dan mungkin ada informasi tambahan tadi?
Ya, bagi Bapak Ibu yang bukan presenter untuk sesi paralel, kami mengundang Bapak Ibu hadirin sekalian untuk bergabung ke sesi Faith for Cities yang diselenggarakan di ruang 405. Sesi ini akan dipimpin oleh Dr. Chris Elisaras.
Ya, ini berlaku bagi Anda yang bukan presenter, ada ruang khusus untuk berdiskusi. Dan Bapak Ibu, kita akan melanjutkan nantinya Bapak Ibu bisa kembali lagi ke ruang depan setelah paralel untuk menikmati santap siang. Dan setelahnya pada pukul 12.45 akan ada panel 4 di ruangan ini. Jadi Bapak Ibu nanti akan kembali lagi ke ruangan ini untuk mengikuti panel 4 pada pukul 12.45. Untuk informasi tempat beribadah, sekali lagi kami informasikan kepada Bapak Ibu ada 2 tempat beribadah.
Iya, musola ada di lantai 3 dan lantai 4. Juga bagi Bapak Ibu yang ingin beribadah di masjid, ada di lantai 1 sisi timur gedung atau di sebelah kolam.
Baik, demikian informasi dari kami. Selamat berehat. Thank you so very much for your attention and have a good break.
Tapi aman. Yang penting di depan aja. Yang penting duduk di baris aja. Nggak apa-apa.
Oh ya. Mohon perhatiannya yang presentasi pada panel saat ini, sekarang ini mohon untuk duduk di depan nanti supaya gilirannya waktu presentasi biar bisa langsung dan cepat begitu. Pengumuman untuk presenternya nanti di depan di podium ini presentasinya. Setelah itu nanti presenter tersebut boleh duduk kembali dan kemudian dilanjutkan dengan presenter berikutnya. Gitu ya. Terima kasih. Before we begin this panel, please let's fill the empty seats in the front. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. I'm truly honored to lead this 7th panel, which will explore significant and thought-provoking issues surrounding cultural and social resilience as we navigate the challenges of our global landscape. Before we begin the presentations, I would like to introduce our 5 speakers today, or 6 speakers today, all of whom are from Universitas Gadjah Mada. The first presenter is Dinda Ahlul Latifah from the Department of Anthropology. She will discuss the challenges faced by Nglipo Hamlet in Karanganyar Village, Central Java, Indonesia, particularly regarding the impact of tourism on local pottery artisans. In response to these challenges, young people established Sanggar Lemah Urip, or SLU, a program aimed at teaching local values. This initiative not only strengthens community ties, but also boosts the economy by integrating art education with tourism. The second presenter, Al Mekah from the Culture and Media Studies program at the graduate school, will discuss how family photographs shape identity, particularly for LGBTQ+ couples. His paper examines how the Indonesia gay couple, Jackie Rusli and Seth Halim, utilized their Instagram account to redefine their family identity. Applying Bolter and Gruzin's theory of remediation, his study highlights how their posts reflect their Indonesian, Chinese, and Christian heritage through symbols such as batik, tumpeng, and festive celebrations. Their imagery creates a significant space for queer visibility and cultural resilience in Southeast Asia. The third presenter, Yanuarita Kusuma Permatasari, also from the Culture and Media Studies program at the graduate school, will discuss Ayana Moon, a South Korean micro-celebrity popular in Indonesia for her appearances on talk shows and beauty advertisements. As a former K-pop idol trainee who converted to Islam, she enhances Indonesia's affections for South Korean culture. This presentation examines how micro-celebrities use soft power to embrace a country's international influence by fostering emotional connections with their fans. The fourth presenter, Dani Ardiawan from the Graduate School of Performing Arts and Visual Arts, will present on Mochopat, a Japanese oral tradition that conveys moral teachings through poetry. He emphasizes how its representation in Indonesian horror films has changed public perception, turning it from an educational practice into something mystical. His study reveals that this decontextualization causes audience to view Mochopat as a symbol of supernatural forces rather than a source of spiritual guidance. Additionally, its commodification in entertainment further influences public understanding. And the final presenter, Abioso and Adi Muhammad Mutahari from the Media and Cultural Studies program at the Graduate School will discuss the organic farming movement by kelompok Tani Banca in Gabus, Pati, Central Java, Indonesia. This movement resists unsustainable industrial food systems by promoting environmental stewardship and public health. By using self-produced fertilizers and avoiding synthetic chemicals, it challenges conventional agriculture's driven approach. Ultimately, their research highlights how culturally informed consumption practices can lead to more sustainable and equitable food system. Each presenter will be allotted 15 minutes to deliver their paper, and should it be necessary, I will provide a reminder 5 minutes prior to the conclusion of the presentation time. Following the presentation, I will facilitate a question and answer session. Without further delay, I would like to introduce our first presenter, Dinda Ahlul Latifah. The time and place are now yours. Let's ask a ton of applause to Dinda Ahlul Latifah. Okay, announcement from the organizing committee. So each presenter we have 30 minutes due to time constraints. So I deeply apologize for that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everybody. My name is Dinda Latifah, and I'm from Anthropology Department of Gadjah Mada University. And this morning, I would like to present my topics. I will retell the story about my friend struggling in Lipoh Hamlet, Borobudur, Central Java. So my topics is empowerment strategy of Sanggar Lemah Urip, cultural-based contextual education movement to strengthen regeneration and local economy. And for the context, Lipoh Hamlet, located in Karanganyar village in Borobudur, Central Java. This is the location where the local pottery craftsmen become one of center of their livelihood. So most of people in Lipoh Hamlet are the women who depend on pottery artisan as their livelihood. And they facing some challenge in their life, especially to develop or empowering themselves from the pottery. Because most of the young people in Lipoh Hamlet don't want to be a pottery artisan because they don't get fair enough price for the pottery artisan. Another challenge that they face in the village is the price of artisan that not give them fairness of the price, make the life of the woman artisan in the village is not good enough. And based on the challenge is the local context, some of local youth in Nglepoh village initiate Sanggar Lemah Urip. Yeah, I do this research with my friend. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, I'm sorry with the technical mistake. Yeah. And I do this research in Nglepoh village with my friend. I participate with the Sanggar Lemah Urip when they make any activity in their space. So in Indonesia, Sanggar is like a learning space or education space for the community or for the youth in the village. So it's non-formal education community in the village. And I try to dialogue with them and participate directly in the activity when they make any activity in pottery innovation in their village. Yeah, and in this research, I would like to ask my questions is, how does Sanggar Lemah Urip initiate the empowerment movement and strategy through contextual education based on cultural pottery in the village. And just such being I say in the first that Sanggar Lemah Urip is initiated by the local youth in Nglepoh village to respond the challenge in the village. Because the regeneration in the village, especially from the young people, they don't want to be a pottery artisan anymore because the pottery doesn't make sense for them to reach respectful life because the price of the pottery is not fair enough for the pottery in the village. So that's why SLU want to initiate the movement to make sure that the pottery can be developed and empowering the people in the village. Okay, for the Nglepoh village, the pottery is not only economic product, but it's connect with their history because the history of the local people in Nglepoh is connect with Nyai Kalipah. Nyai Kalipah is one of the women that they believe as the one who come to the village and open the village with the pottery as their main livelihood. And for the woman in the Nglepoh, pottery is just become their self, their body, their knowledge, and their life. Because in Nglepoh itself, the woman is the one of an actor who have a very strong local knowledge and very strong skill to make pottery. So there's sharing roles in the family between the woman and the man. But the one who make the pottery with their hand is the woman. So that's why in Nglepoh village, when women just grow up in elementary school, they need to be trained by their mom or their mother to make pottery in the village. They say the processing to make a pottery with ngeleler. So ngeleler is the way for the woman to make pottery artisan in Nglepoh village. Yeah, and this is one of the values, also social values that becoming a strong solidarity shape in Nglepoh village because the pottery artisan makers or processing is strengthening the family and community solidarity. And we can look in the picture, we call it as a kampung. Kampung is a place for the pottery to make any pottery product. And in this kampung, they're sharing roles with their neighbor to can keep the pottery for each other. So that's why the pottery procession making is not only useful for the family, but for whole the people in Nglepoh village. Okay, based on the context, now they facing some challenge, as I said in the first, that the generation of pottery maker is really stagnant because most of young people doesn't want to be a pottery artisan anymore. And it's hard to get a good raw material because now they are hard to find the good soil to make pottery in the village. And another challenge is, such being I say in the first, that there's unfairness price for the pottery artisan. So when the middlemen come to the village, they will buy the pottery with very, very cheap price. And it's not worth it for the woman who make the pottery in every day of life. Yeah, and we come to our main discussion is how we can see Sanggar Lemah Urip as a local space movement or as a local space education. They can initiate the movement to respond the challenge. So based on the potency that they have in their village, just like local knowledge, the pottery culture, the tourism, and the youth community, they initiate some strategy to can respond the challenge in the village. Yeah, and the first one, Sanggar Lemah Urip, the village youth movement, as the cultural progress, they initiate the art studio. Art studio as a space to initiate culture-based education for the people and the youth. The art space is not only have a function to make any product, but have a function as a space to regenerate the knowledge to the youth, especially, and to the children. So it's becoming one of the regeneration space for the youth and the children in the village. And another thing that SLU initiate in the village is to empowering the youth and the local people with the innovation in pottery. So in pottery, they can make some innovation from pottery to the dance of pottery. So they initiate to make a musical drama and musical theater. And it's not only can transferring the knowledge or the value, but also can creating and can strengthening the innovation of the youth people to can make initiation and to make any innovation for the pottery innovation in the village. And another one that what SLU do is to connecting the pottery innovation to local tourism activity in the village. So the people that come to village not only buying the pottery, but they can connect with the education activity to make pottery with the woman of pottery in the village. And this is the benefit and the potential change that what SLU already done in the village, not only for the children, but also for the youth and for the pottery artisan and the woman especially. So there is a character and creativity strengthening based on the education in the Sanggar Lemah Urip. And there's a transfer of knowledge across generation from the pottery of women to the children and to the youth people in the village. And then a social economic empowerment because the SLU connect the tourism activity to the SLU activity in the village. And there is actually the preservation and advancement of culture and the village tourism development based on the local culture in the village. And the conclusion and the reflection is, first, we know that Sanggar Lemah Urip present is just acts as a forum for cross-generational consolidation based on the culture-based education to strengthen traditional values and social cohesion in the village. And the second one is SLU has effectively developed organic movement method through participatory research, documentation, and the inclusion of local pottery knowledge in its curriculum, demonstrated by both pottery making education and the creation of the pottery and dance. And the third is SLU serves as a center for innovation located in local culture, where the presentation of pottery goes beyond mere safeguarding to actively spur valuable innovations such as new ceramic products and performance art. And the fourth is that SLU serves as a platform for grassroots economic movement. The process of innovation has successfully expanded local creative economic opportunity through pottery educational tourism and the implementation of pottery festival, positioning the artisan as key subject and collaborators. And in conclusion, SLU empowerment strategy based on contextual education and local culture has significant contribute to strengthening the local community's ecosystem across social, economic, and ecological dimension. Yeah, so that's why I present today, and thank you for you all.
Okay, let's extend our applause to the first presenter. Thank you so much, Bu Dinda Ahlul Latifah. Okay, now we will proceed with the presentation by our second presenter, Ali Mekah. I now invite you to take the stage.
Oke, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ali Mekah. I'm postgraduate. I'm postgraduate student on Media and Culture Studies. I'm sorry, my English is not very good. I'll be reading from my notes to make sure I can explain my ideas clearly. Today, I'd like to share my paper entitled Reconstruction of Memory and Identity in an Indonesian Gay Family Through the Remediation of Family Photographs on Instagram. In this presentation, I will explore how family photographs can be understood as practice that reconstruct memory and identity, especially for Indonesia queer families, Jackie Rusli and Seth Halim, an Indonesian gay couple who married in the US. And now they're living with their two adopted children, Jasper and Amber. So we can move to the second slide. As we can see in the first point, Marianne Hirst and Jose Van Dyke remind us that the family pictures are not only personal memories, they are also articulate personal and social identity. And especially in digital era, when photography remediated into social media, many family pictures shift from private photo albums to public spaces like Instagram. Its remediation creates new ways to produce and circulate images. It reshapes how people present their memories and sense of identity. And when we talk about family, it's not only about heteronormative families, but we also talk about what Till calls it transnormative family, which includes queer or rainbow families. Family pictures on social media is an important role in how queer families are visibility and recognized. However, this visibility also brings challenge, especially in Indonesia, where religious and heteronormative values are still very dominant. And same-sex marriage is not legally or socially accepted. So in this study, I focus on how family picture on Instagram can be read as a way to express and reshape family identity through various kinds of cultural symbols. In short, I explore how gay family picture on social media relate to discourse of identity and memory in the public space. Following to the previous point, family picture today move from private to public spaces, and to understand this shift, I use Bolter and Gruzian concept about remediation. Remediation means reforming, repurposing, reusing old media within new media. Immediacy, this concept also includes immediacy and hypermediacy. Immediacy tries to make us feel close, to immerse ourselves into the image. And hypermediacy remind us that the immersion is mediated. So this concept of remediation serve as the main theoretical framework of this study. For this paper, I analyzed for family photos from Jackie Rusley account. And the first photos were chosen because they have strong representation of family identity, and they include multiple cultural symbols. And the pictures also receive a lot of public engagement through the feature of likes and comment. And this paper, I examined the visual, caption, and audience comments together using the ideas of multimodal discourse analysis from Günter Kress and Van Leeuwen. And then about the ethics, all the data came from public Instagram posts, not from any private or closed content. There was no manipulation. I took screenshot of the posts as they were. And the picture were used only for academic purposes to understand how representation and discourse work. Now to expose the personal thing. There are the 4 pictures that I analyzed. There is batik, tumpeng, and Imlek celebration, birthday celebration. And the finding, my first finding is focus on remediation, immediacy, and hypermediacy. I think this process changed not just the format, but also how people express and connect through this image. We can see this clearly in the next slide. In this case, remediation is not just a technology change, it transforms meaning and purpose. Jackie and Seth Halim, family pictures, move from private archive to public digital spaces and carrying new emotional and social function. What was private documentation is now share a message of love, inspiration, and self-expression. As Jackie mentioned in an interview, that his story has given hope to young people facing similar struggles. Some said they were hopeless and even considered to suicide before hearing Jackie and Seth's story. So, by bringing their private life into public space, the picture creates a sense of visibility and connection for a queer audience. And in symbolic sense, the family's image moved from heteronormative to transnormative. Then remediation here also involves immediacy and hypermediacy. We feel close to the image while being aware of their mediated. Through Instagram, followers immerse in the family's joy via likes, comments, or emojis, creating emotional closeness. But at the same time, when these pictures circulate beyond Instagram, they can face rejection and criticism. For example, when some picture remediated to liputan6.com, where the picture have been criticized with religious and moral argument, dianggap sebuah azab gitu, and seen as potentially endangered children. It's showing that remediation brings both visibility and vulnerability, and in short, remediation reshapes not just the medium, but emotion, relationship, and risk. Now let's move to the second finding. For example, in this portrait, we can see their national identity. Being Indonesian is still important to this family. In the birthday pictures, tumpeng and Christmas tree appear together, mixing culture and religion. During Imlek New Year, red decoration show their Chinese identity. And in Jasper Rainbow birthday, the colors become a symbol of queer pride. As Crash and Van Leeuwen remind us, visual are never neutral. Every image carries meaning and ideology. And in this case, these family pictures are not only personal, they also challenge the idea that religion or culture belong only to normal heterosexual families. We also see a strong sense of togetherness in every photo. It shows communal values, family closeness, and sense of uniformity in Indonesian culture. And finally, there is one more idea I want to mention. Some call nostalgia without memory. The children, Jasper and Amber, were born and raised outside Indonesia. They don't have memories of the country. They never lived there. But through this family picture, their parents reconstruct what it means to be Indonesian. Through symbols like batik, tumpeng, or traditional celebration, they create a kind of visual connection to their cultural identity. So in this sense, memory is not just about remembering the past, it's about creating a sense of belonging through visualization. Okay, from this explanation, we can find some key ideas about this visual practices mean. The first, the family photograph work as a kind of cultural resistance to heteronormativity. The second, these images show how memory is reconstructed through the digital media. And finally, the remediation itself become an act of strength and resilience. So to conclude, one key point is that queer family picture on Instagram work as a cultural and symbolic strategy. They mix Indonesian culture with rainbow family imagery and question traditional ideas of family. And another important aspect of the remediation is not just about technology, it also shapes how people see and feel the image. For Jackie Rusli and Seth Halim, it helps reconstruct memory and connect with their Indonesian culture identity. And finally, it's important to remember that remediation is never ends. Each post or act of sharing will bring the images into new social and ideological context. In one context, the family may be accepted. In another, they may be rejected. Just like the process of mediation and remediation itself, it keeps moving, reshaping meaning, interacting with other media, and even remediating itself. So that's all for me. Thank you so much for your attention.
Let's applaud the second presenter, Bapak Ali Mekah. Thank you so much for the insightful presentation. We will now welcome the third presenter, Yanuarita Kusuma Permatasari. I invite you to present your work.
Okay. Well, I'm nervous, so. Oh yeah, okay. Okay, so selamat siang, good afternoon. My name is Yanuarita. You can call me Ayik. It's really, I'm very nervous standing here in front of the amazing fellow here. So yeah, before I start to discuss what I'm talking about today, about micro-celebrity as a country's soft power, I think I need to tell you that okay, this discussion about micro-celebrity actually a small part of my research, my previous research, entitled about content creator as cultural mediaries. So I have done this research around 2022, 2023, before I enrolled to be doctoral students here. So from my previous research, the capital transformation of content creators turns them into a cultural intermediary. So the creative workforce with the highest intensity of information sharing apparently enables them to become cultural intermediaries on digital platforms. So that, sorry for the yellow color, I think it's not clear enough, but it's okay. So they become a cultural intermediaries, it means that the social class also turn to be a what Bourdieu called petite bourgeois thing. And then what is actually petite bourgeois? So this is the social group lies between the working class and the bourgeois and the possess cultural capital in the form of experience, knowledge, and skills. Meanwhile, the petite bourgeois lacks the legitimate authority of the bourgeois, but they engage in activities that are not typical of bourgeois culture. So this allows them to occupy a higher or lower social class. Furthermore, their status as petite bourgeois is often used as a benchmark for those who believe in the specialization of these cultural intermediaries. So, who is actually the creator content? I use the terminology from the Stuart Cunningham and David Craig that creator content is social media users who utilize various digital platforms with an entrepreneurial spirit and drive to create their own media brand. So any one of you who have Instagram maybe or TikTok, you guys, every day posting content about you, actually you are a content creator, okay? Okay, so the next, you can call the content creator is influencers, bloggers, vloggers, game players, live streamers, or maybe as a cam girls or micro celebrity. Okay, so in this discussion, I use the term micro celebrity from Teresa Senth because I think it has the similarity with Cunningham and Craig. She said that micro celebrity is a mindset and set of practices in which people view themselves as a public persona to be consumed by others. This is from her book entitled Cam Girls. Okay, so I can see the aspects of micro celebrities is about self-branding, how they use the strategy of intimacy to build intimacy with their audience, and then audience management, visibility labor, and then performance of authenticity. So even though she's performing herself in media social, she's trying to be authentic, but yeah, once again, there is no authentic that is really, really authentic. So, subject of discussion is Ayana Jihemun. Maybe some of you here know her. I use a case study from my previous research, and the post I use is from 2023. 5 posts that representing the existence of her symbolic meaning that include in soft power. So this is Ayana Moon. So I remember around 2015 and 2016, I've seen her on Instagram. Ayana holding Quran, wearing hijab, and perfectly beautiful. And I say, oh, who's the girl? Someone from Korea? Oh, the girl from Korea? Korean people wearing hijab, wow, this is something that I just knew it. Yeah, because, you know, South Korea is about K-pop, boy bands, girl bands, but this is Ayana Moon, an influencer or creator content or micro celebrity. I have seen another identity before Ayana Moon, so despite her popularity at that time, as a Muslim woman from Korea, we found how Muslim women in Korea struggle with discrimination. They're being outcast, living with the stigma of being a terrorist. If you are a Muslim, it means that you are a terrorist. And South Korea may seem as a peaceful country, but actually there is Islamophobia that becomes a serious issue. And the later in May in May 12, if I'm not wrong, the United Nations criticized how South Korea discrimination of a foreigner worker, Muslim and Chinese descent society in there. Okay, back again in Ayana. As I said before, South Korea is all about K-pop, the dramas, the boy bands, the girl bands, and the movies with the most of the people embracing different religions. But I know that Muslim in South Korea is not more than 5%, I thought. And then, however, Ayana appeared. We could see that she's not just playing the role based on the aspects that stated before. Her emergence as a Korean Muslim woman helped increase global confidence in South Korea that there is a space for Muslim women to thrive despite discrimination and stigma. And yes, I think she's beyond of that. As a micro-celebrity, she's transformed into country's soft power. Okay, so this is her post on June. We can see that she has opportunity to be a TV commercial artist. She was posing while handling a bottle of shampoo. It means that she is loved by Indonesian people. She has a place to be in the commercial advertorial like this. She using 3 languages. It means that she has a willingness, approach to talk with the audience. And then this is how she shared her experience with the measure in Seoul. It means that she's no longer sharing her daily activity, but she's elevated herself to be in the line of political life or political relations in Korea. And it's also showed that how she share and is not sharing, how she is have relations with people from overseas. And then this is with Mahathir Mohamad from Malaysia, as now Ayana Moon is a study in Malaysia. She has a scholarship to study in Malaysia. And yeah, as a country soft power, South Korea's strategy in spreading diplomatic power through soft power is carried out in various ways. And the establishment of national languages signified the possibility of creating a common cultural identity among their inhabitants. And country soft power, according to Nye, Joseph Nye, soft power rests on the ability to shape the preference of others to get what you want through attraction, like what Ayana Moon did. And cultural approachment as soft power become the smartest, I think, the easiest and also the fastest way to develop soft power. And this is the, what I said, 5 categories soft power. Well, for further, actually the Nye's power, soft power, is the mechanism of soft power works through shaping international public perception and opinion. Countries use media, education, popular culture, and public diplomacy to build a positive national image. And soft power creates attraction, leading the voluntary and the enlightenment. However, soft power remains rather poorly understood. For instance, soft power works by attraction, by convincing others to follow based on the appeal of one's idea. And yeah, the power of K-pop is a significant source of soft power in building international affection for the country. And this affection will accelerate the spread of Korean culture. When everyone is familiar with Korean culture, from its food, clothing, or until the language, it elevates Korea's popularity as a country. Specifically, the country that really nice or good with Muslim women. So influencer as a soft power is a concept that many people may not realize, because what is taken into account is still a traditional artist, not a influencer. And my critics or my notes is, although micro-celebrity could be a tool for the country as their soft power, the micro-celebrity itself should understand who they are. The micro-celebrity also should have the value to distinct with others. And for Indonesian influencers, should take the lesson from Ayana Moon, adding more value in their content, so the sympathy and the trust from the international brand increase, and also for Indonesian country itself. So, thank you so much. That's from me.
Let's applaud the third presenter, Yanuarita Kusuma Permatasari. Thank you so much for sharing your valuable work. Continuing on, we will hear from our fourth presenter, Dani Ardiawan. The stage is yours.
Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Before I start my presentation, let me introduce myself. My name is Dani Ardiawan, and this day I will presenting about Mocopat mystification, fear narrative in traditional tones. Maybe the audience wondering what is Mocopat, and what can Mocopat do to our life, especially in Indonesia? Okay, before I presenting, there is Mocopat in there, and I try to read it or sing it, so you can feel it. How do you feel about this Mocopat? Ojo turu sore kaki, ono tewa nganglang jagat, nyangking pokor kancanane, isine donga tetula. Okay, that's for sample. And from what I see, in audience there is two different expression. Person with fascinating, it's really good, nice Mocopat gitu kan, nice song, nice tembang. But other, it's so spooky. I feel with the sound of Mocopat. And my research is talk about why we more fear when we learn about this Mocopat. Okay. This first, Mocopat is a Javanese oral tradition containing noble teaching, or we say piwulang. So from anything perspective, the function of Mocopat is for educational purpose. But today, Mocopat being a medium that contain more fear to audience, and this. If you ask many young Indonesians today what Mocopat sounds like, they make no say is wisdom or educational song, but they say horror, mystic. And why is the medium enlightenment not associated with fear? My presentation today, Mocopat mystification, will explore of that. The answer lies in the massive commercial research of Indonesian oral cinema. Over the past decade, filmmakers have discovered a powerful formula. This fusing horror narrative with local tradition. And the paradox, its authentic meaning every day it's fading. Yet its distorted form is gaining popularity. So popularity of the misconception of mochopat by day by day is more frightening to our community because more young generation is fear with mochopat. I'm teacher, so I know when I say about mochopat, my student always say, it's really spooky. And we can make this misconception being lost or erase this misconception. So the problem, Indonesian horror film systematically use mochopat as a sonic tool to create terror, stripping it of its original purpose. So many director or producer make this sound. It's to call, we call it the myth or devil. So often we use, it's very interesting to use it for horror movies. Or we use for traditional dance and theatrical gitu. We use it for gain popularity with horrification or mystification. So the question is, how does this mystification occur and what is cultural impact? My method and theoretical framework, I choose for movies to my studies is Jai Langkung in 2017, kemudian next Makmum, Tembang Lingsir, and we know it. I think all of us know about KKN di Desa Penari. And then my theoretical lens from cultural semiotic and performance studies, sound studies, and ethnography to search my data. Cultural semiotic to understand how new meanings are created. So the meaning of mochopat is really different from the first meaning that thing is created. So I hope I can take many data from these theoretical views. And the result, I found for result, and first is radical decontextualization. Mochopat is stripped from its historical and philosophical context. And then sacred performance is restaged as a horror trope, and we say restored behavior. In this mechanism, this is act of stripping mochopat from its original historical, philosophical, and functional context. The film commit a form of epistemic violence. They empty the signifier of its original meaning. A perfect example is the film Tembang Lingsir. It builds its entirely narrative on the popular misconception of the Javanese song Lingsir Wengi. It uses to summon spirit. Historically, its song is attributed to Sunan Kalijogo. The lyrics are actually a prayer toward evil and reject carnal desires. The film not only ignores this, but actively reinforces the opposite meaning. This process is amplified by linguistic alienation. The lyric of mochopat often use archaic Javanese, or we say Kawi, bahasa Jawa Kawi. The most modern audience, even a Javanese speaker, do not understand because the original meaning is inaccessible and the audience can challenge the new horror meaning presented by the film. So if I sing about Lingsir Wengi, most of people think is to call the devil or the spirit. But is the meaning is not for that. It's for really beautiful teaching. Lingsir Wengi. We fear with that, but we don't know about the meaning at all. So it's really interesting why the people, our self-people, it's really ignoring the lyric of mochopat. And then audiovisual manipulation. The audience are conditioned to associate mochopat with fear. And it's presented as disembodied threatening sound within the terrifying soundscape. So once the original meaning is gone, the second mechanism kicks in, and that the orchestration of the effect. The empty sound of mochopat is now filled with new negative association to audiovisual manipulation. In these films, or in this movie, mocopat is rarely presented in its pure form. It is engineered as part of a terrifying soundscape. The vocals are mixed with low-frequency drones, artificially whine and cracking doors, and indistinct whispers. So when mocopat being sing it, there is more audio that makes we human being really fear with that sound, with those door crack, crack, crack. We most terrifying with that audio sound in everyday our life, gitu. And in Indonesia, it's really difficult to erase that. And this creates what the theorist Michael Sayan called the aukumetre, a sound whose source is not visible. In Makmum, movie Makmum, a student hears a mocopat chant while praying alone at the night. It doesn't come from a person or a radio. It emanates from the darkness, and this disambiguous voice becomes the vocal representation of the ghost itself. Took this repetition, the audience is psychologically conditioned. Like Pavlov, we are being trained to feel a surge of adrenaline whenever we hear the sound of mocopat. And then the third is narrative function shift. Mocopat is no longer a philosophical text, but a simple plot device. And then its function is reduced to a magical password or a danger signal. So if there is mocopat, our concept, our misconception, it's make our mindset is it's really horror, it's really mystic, and etc. This condition is leads to the third mechanism, and its original context in horror film is reduced to simple plot device. And then we talk about commodification and industrial logic. This is really important because the process is driven by profit and the creation of a successful box office formula. With the mocopat, movie director gain more popularity, and the movie itself is really beneficial for this concept. So it's like a formula. If you want your movie really accepted by Indonesian community, you must use traditional concept or traditional culture with the most misconception to make it more fearing. So it's really heartbroken for our culture. Gitu. And then mocopat becomes a pre-packaged cultural ingredient for instant mystic. And maybe the conclusion is the mystification of mocopat is a complex cultural phenomenon resulting from its decontextualization, manipulation, and commodification by the movie industry or film industry. So I think that's for my presentation. Thanks for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Let's applaud the fourth presenter, Dani Adiawan. Lastly, we will proceed with the presenter by our fifth presenters, Abioso and Andi Muhammad Mutahari. Please take the stage.
Good morning and hey everyone, hope you're all doing great. I'm Andi and I'm here with my friends Abi. We are stepping in also for Aring. We are representing Kajian Budaya dan Media Study Group. Today we would really like to present about our research titled From Soil to Soul, the Cultural Politics of Organic Food and Resistance in Rural Indonesia. So the story is in Pati, Central Java, the villagers of Bancak village gather every Friday Wage in Javanese calendar. They gather in Balai Desa for routine gatherings. This is a tradition that has been around for several years. maybe 100 years, passed down through generation. This is a gathering. They give a stage for art performance, traditional dance, and where they held like a cultural discussion about their culture. And then discussion within the group led to realization of the farmer that eco-friendly farming was an ancestral legacy, with only still now 3 farmers still practicing traditional methods. So they founded a community called Pos Pelayanan Agen Hayati in 2014, which evolved into a community hub, an education hub. They teach farming techniques for students. They teach organic farming for women study group and neighborhood group. And then they began to produce organic fertilizer, and then they get a certification, organic certification in 2017. This group is called Kelompok Tani Banca, and they receive an official organic certification from IPB, becoming the first farming collective in Pati to do so. So they had now 11 members cultivating around 3 hectares of rice fields. But the group is disbanded in 2020, and the license was not renewed due to fragile economics of organic farming. But the story did not end there. Nowadays, they are administratively disbanded, but still practicing their cultural heritage. Now there are around 5 farmers, 5 farmers still practicing eco-friendly rice farming. And the big thesis is this paper contains that the organic farming practices of Kelompok Tani Banca are best understood not as a niche market or a marketing technique, but as a culturally rooted everyday politics of resistance to Indonesia's industrial food regime. Organic farming here is not a community, it's not a commodity, it's embodied way of life anchored in ancestral values like sincerity and ecological care. And this practice decommodifies farming inputs and re-embeds production within local social-ecological relations. Sorry. Why our study matters? Maybe because Indonesia's green revolution legacy from President Suharto produced high yields, but also ecological degradation, chemical dependency, and public health problems like rising obesity and diabetes. Policy and market-centric literature often miss farmers' cultural worlds and treat organic only as urban consumer preference. The word organic itself has become intensely commodified to the point where papers talks about it as a marketing strategy or a consumer preference. And policy-focused studies often forget the agency of farmers and treat them as object of government policy. A lot of people often forget that there are a word culture in agriculture. So we are trying to illustrate how this local wisdom can be a solution for global challenge, or maybe offer a cultural mindset and a pathway to understand sustainable agriculture through social understanding or social capital. Our case study is Kelompok Tani Banca. We want to know how does a uniquely cultivated collective habitus within the group underpin the persistence of their organic movement and its resistant character against industrial agriculture. This is the theoretical scaffolding that we use to read and interpret our data. More on that later. We use qualitative as a kind of ethnographic orientation combining participant observation Aring did make a fertilizer planning and harvest ritual, and we did semi-structured in-depth interview with key members of Tani Banca. And then the analysis is guided deductively by our theoretical scaffolding mentioned to surface patterns of disposition, practices, conflicts, and meaning making. Now we are gonna talk about findings with Mas Abi.
Thank you, Andy. Wow, so many people. Hi, everyone. I will continue with our findings in this research. There are 4 findings about the issue that discussed earlier by Andy. Finding number 1 is about organic farming as cultural resistance. The Bancak Farmer Group's organic farming is not simply a technical innovation. It is a form of embodied cultural resistance to the logic of industrial agriculture. By rejecting chemical fertilizers and producing their own bio-inputs, these farmers reclaim their autonomy and resist market dependency. Their practices are deeply ethical and ecological, driven by sincerity, care for health, and respect for the environment. This is the second finding about habitus and collective dispositions. Using Bourdieu's concept of habitus, we can see how these farmers' everyday practices are sustained by deep cultural dispositions. Sincerity, ancestral wisdom, and ecological responsibility. Habitus here is not static, it is reflexive and adaptive. It allows moral transformation across generations. From Pak Swidi's moral awakening to Pak Supadi's inherited values, and Pak Timbul's blending of traditional and scientific knowledge. Pak Timbul is a bachelor of agriculture UGM, so he kind of combined the modern knowledge with local knowledge, and then sort of making the hybridity of knowledge to form the organic farmer group. Together they form a collective habitus that gives the movement emotional resilience. For the third finding about knowledge, culture, and political consumerism, the Bancak case also shows a powerful blending of knowledge systems, scientific techniques, with local wisdom, creating what Shiva calls cognitive justice. Their choices reflect political consumerism, but unlike urban consumers, they are producer consumers or prosumers. They produce for themselves, their families, and their communities' health. Self-production becomes an everyday political act, a statement of independence from corporate agriculture. This is the fourth and our last finding about tensions and impacts. The movement faces internal tension. Andy mentioned earlier that in 2020 the groups disbanded because of the certification problem. Some members were motivated by market profit, while others were driven by sincerity and ecological values. When organic certification became too costly and bureaucratic, profit-oriented members left, revealing the politics of standard. Yet, those rooted in sincerity continued. The impacts are clear: lower costs, better health, restored biodiversity, and renewed community education through the Jemuah Wage Forum, where farming, art, and ecology meet. So this is our conclusion, that the Bancak movement shows that real resistance does not always appear as protest. It can live in everyday practice. Through their habitus, these farmers embody sincerity, ecological awareness, and ancestral ethics in daily life. Their organic farming is both cultural and political, a refusal of commodification and a reconnection to the land. Food sovereignty here grows not from policy, but from cultural and effective strength within the community. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, let's extend our applause to the final presenters, Abioso and Andi Muhammad Mutahari. I will now invite all the presenters to sit here for the Q&A session. Please come forward. I will now open the questions and answer sessions and invite 3 participants to ask questions or provide comments. Please state your name, the institution you represent, and direct your questions or comments to a specific person here. If time permits, I will invite additional participants to contribute. Okay, 1, 2, 3, yes. Yes. Could you please take the microphone? Yes, thank you.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Adani Junesh Remha from Media and Cultural Studies. I want to ask for 2 speakers, I think. The first one is for Mbak Yanuarita. I want to ask about the soft power that she wants to reveal here, because I don't know, personally I think that the soft power here doesn't really work, in my opinion, because I also watched some videos from Ayana Moon, and there were some videos that show Ayana didn't wear hijab when she was in Korea because she instead wore a hat and a hoodie to cover her head when going out with her brother in Korea. And in the people in the comments section, they say that it was done by Ayana because she is still not confident enough, or the people of or the society of the Korea is not generally not accepting yet about people wearing hijab. And what's your opinion about this? Whether this soft power really works or not, or maybe you have another opinion on that. And another one is, sorry, I don't remember your name, sir, the third speaker, sorry. You mentioned about your methodology, your methods in doing this research, and you said that you use ethnography. But can you please confirm to me which part of your research using the ethnography? Because I'm so sorry, maybe I was skip at that part when you said that you use ethnography. Which one? What kind of analysis do you use with the ethnography? And because you use very, I saw that abundant list of methods over there and theories and methods over there. I think if I might say 1 or 2 about a kind of method that probably will fit best. Probably you can use multimodality because in multimodality, I think in my personal opinion, it is more holistic compared to you use this semiotics. Another one is a sound, and another one is something like that. I think multimodality will be more effective for that kind of analysis. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your questions. And the second participant who raised his or her hand for a question or comment, yes, please.
Okay, hello, my name is Naomi. I'm from Communication Department, Faculty Social and Political Science. I appreciate for all the presenters today. That was a good insight for me. The first question goes to the second presenter, Mas Ali. Okay, Mas Ali. Sorry. Hello, Mas Ali. So my question is, does the remediation through digital media enable the experience of gay families to gain social recognition or acceptance, or is just to provoke the polarization, like in the commentar section? And to what extent can Instagram multimodal features effectively reconstruct social and cultural narratives? And then the second question goes to Mbak Yanuarita about micro-celebrity as a soft power, nation soft power. My question is, which party is more affected, the state, the individual, or the platform? And what do you think about the critique a micro-celebrity soft power can be a covert tool of propaganda rather than a genuine expression of culture? Thank you.
Thank you so much for the questions. And final participants, the last one. I think, yes, you, sir, yes.
Okay, thank you. My name is Firly from Master of Disaster Management, Graduate School. My question here is for the last presenter, Mas Abioso and friend. This is a very interesting topic since organic food and agriculture is currently on trend. My question is, as I watch your presentation, seems like this knowledge of agriculture is a form of hybrid of modern agriculture knowledge and traditional knowledge. Did you happen to uncover in the interview which factors is the most important factors? I mean, is the agent. By the agent, I mean the agricultural graduate from UGM as the main actor, or the community itself. Which one is the more deciding factor? And then by the scale of production, when we say about the form this practice as a form of resistance, by the scale of production, is there data of which is the production here is capable to fulfill the need of the village, or is it just the production is just small, so it could just fulfill the small community? That is my question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for the questions. Now, who will respond first?
Okay, thank you for your question, Mbak. Sarah, yeah, okay. From my perspective of my research, I'm using four methods. It's for different reasons. My main research, my main method is cultural semiotic. So the other method is for different using. For example, ethnography. I'm using ethnography on online ethnography to search about data, and we can use ethnography, manual ethnography, because more people is now really excited to talk about Mocopat in social media, not in everyday life, because the theme is not every day to share with others. So I think ethnography to search my data research. So it's not for explaining the findings. So just for take the data. Maybe that.
Okay, I will answer the question from Mbak Saro. Okay, so you think that soft power doesn't really work for Ayana because Ayana herself, she's struggled with the discrimination in South Korea. I agree with that, and I problematized before in my opinion. Because the discrimination in South Korea does exist, and all the Muslim women is struggle, and as it works for the soft power for micro celebrity, I can say that a micro celebrity or creator content or influencer, they have opportunity. I think the soft power by using micro celebrity is a chance, it's a opportunity, and now depends to the country. And what I see, South Korea might be from today, they don't really care about this issue. So that's why I said in the last of my presentation that micro celebrity as a soft power is something that people don't really understood, or something that country doesn't really put the attention. So I can say that is it possible for the micro celebrity as a soft power? And the second question from young lady from communications department, which part is more effective, state, individual, or platform for soft country, and how the micro celebrity is using for propaganda rather than participations, right? So I think the state, individual, and platform is they have interdependency. They all interconnect to build a soft power, because today we are in a digital world. We cannot spread the message without media social. And country also, they use social media to build their soft power. And what I think for micro celebrity used for propaganda rather than their participation, I think that's the consequences from today's culture. I mean, like subject or micro celebrity becomes the tool to do the propaganda for the political actions. I mean, it's not that propaganda like something, a war, but we can see like Atta Halilintar, we can see like Raffi Ahmad. They are used by our government to do something to spread the message to choose them. I think this is part of the situation that cannot be refused from them, by them. I think that's my opinion. I hope this has answered the question from you. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for the question. I don't know if he will answer the question or not, but social media will likely continue to offer both opportunities and risks offer visibility. Remediation allows families to create cultural narrative, but they remain vulnerable to social, religious, and political criticism. And actually, social and political implications of remediation are highlighted by Bolter and Grusin, who note that new media can both technically and socially redefine personal and cultural identity, offering opportunities for self-representation. And ideally, this suggests that queer family photos like Jackie and Shed could foster visibility without fear. But in the practice, as seen, then their photos were reposted in your article, their presence can still be rejected or negatively judged. So I think it's like showing the utopian promise of remediation. Ya, terima kasih.
Thanks for the questions. Exactly like the questioner says, that this knowledge of local and wisdom is a blend. It is a hybrid way of organic farming. And he he has a question about who is the deciding factor, who is the most important, the UGM graduates or the community itself. From what we found that the community itself is the deciding factors, because in the end the UGM graduate must be obedient to local norms and values, but not obedient in a traditional sense. It's more like a respecting the local wisdom. When he was in the village, his academic status was not dominant in a sense, but he then became a normal villager. But his knowledge was certainly useful in practical ways. So their practice is anchored in local wisdom, but in the practical sense, they try to cope up to modern standards. And maybe our studies trying to illustrate that local wisdom can answer for global challenges and maybe also challenge the modern standards. And this resistance may or may not be change the system itself. Their way of organic farming may or may not change the Indonesian agriculture system, may or may not change, but it changes the people itself, at least the practitioners, their son and their kids, and that's how our perspective are, and that's how we seen resistance. We seen resistance not as an act to change or not to change the system. We did not really look at the result of resistance, but we see it how this resistance itself affect the people and how this horizontally affect culture and network of subject. Thank you.
Okay, for those asking the questions, do you want to respond? The three participants asking the questions, do you want to respond? Okay. I appreciate your understanding that we have limited time left. It's 12:15 now, and we're all hungry now. So we apologize, we'll not be able to accommodate additional questions. As we draw this panel to a close, I would like to take a moment to highlight two key points for your consideration. First, soft power exemplified by cultural influence can be strategically utilized to enhance a nation's presence on the international diplomatic stage. Indonesia can draw valuable lessons from South Korea in this regard, as the presenter suggested. And then the second one, it is important to recognize that global capitalism can pose challenges to ancestral moral teachings, cultural traditions, diverse identities, and local economic independence. Emancipation, occurring individually or collectively across various identity backgrounds, whether facilitated through digital media or not, arises as a means to negotiate identity and resist dominant forces that may threaten the fundamental values underpinning the economic, social, and cultural fabric of local communities. And the ongoing challenge is to expand such emancipation within society. So this brings us to the end of our panel discussion for today. On behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to express our sincere gratitude to all the presenters for sharing their invaluable insights and expertise with us today, as well as to the participants for their engagement. We look forward to future opportunities to convene. I will now hand over the proceedings to the organizing committee for any further announcement. Thank you so much. So let's extend our applause to the speakers and also to the participants. Thank you so much. Okay. Okay, announcement from the organizing committee. The lunch is ready, so please enjoy your lunch. Thank you so much again.